In today's video, I will be talking about how to manage school or work responsibilities alongside a chronic illness. No matter if you're a student or already a working professional, there's a lot of responsibilities that come with that. If you're a student, you're trying to manage your symptoms, you're trying to keep up your schoolwork, you're trying to be involved in extracurriculars, you're trying to have a social life, you're trying to also prioritize self-care and keep up with doctor appointments. It's a lot. As a working professional, there's the hours that are worked at the job, plus the overtime that is now common in many workplaces, trying to climb the career ladder, meeting goals, priorities, expectations, and also managing your symptoms. Again, it can be too much. So what can be done to simplify all this as much as possible, to feel as things are flowing more smoothly and that the career/schoolwork is not in a tug of war with you taking care of yourself? Today, I'll be sharing a few tips on exactly how to do that. Number 1, talking with people about your illness. This is one of the hardest things for people to do. For myself, I didn't want people to think that I was weak or that I was making excuses. And also it was hard when I didn't have a diagnosis because I wasn't exactly sure what I was asking for. I wasn't exactly sure what was even happening. With having those conversations, I've noticed that people weren't really interested in exactly the health problems or even the symptoms, but they just wanted to know the specifics of how this would affect my work. So it's really important to have this honest communication. But more so, this is really about setting realistic expectations and realistic boundaries. It also helps as people can understand a bit better when emergencies do come up. Remember when I would have really bad flare-ups and I would reach out for a sick day, I didn't have to use up even more spoons to try to explain what was going on. And people more or less kind of understood because I'd had these communications before with them. And they also understood that I would also make up my work as soon as I was feeling better. Again, this was all discussed prior to all of this. They know that I would usually maybe even stay later that night if I was feeling better or in the weekend or something like that. We had kind of a procedure in place. This works with a boss or even with a professor. You could use this chance to brainstorm together. How will we handle this when this comes up? It's always better to do this before a flare-up hits, right in the middle of one. So don't hold off too long on having this conversation. Number 2, creating a support network. So this has to do more with your peers. Is there someone at school that can take notes for you, or someone at work that you can confide in? I remember at work I had a few people that knew more intimately about my condition, so when I wasn't feeling well, they could also just kind of tell from my face, and it felt really good and nice to be supported. And they also stuck up for me in meetings with management. And I also had somebody to vent to sometimes, and that was also useful. It's tough when people don't really know what you're going through and you're kind of carrying this burden all on your own. It can feel really alienating. It's really difficult. Now with that, depending on again what country you're watching this video from, but for example, let's say you're in school, you could reach out to many schools and many countries have appropriate centers for help. Lots of universities have a center for students with disabilities, and this also helps with making the appropriate accommodations. In the US, there's something called the 504 plan. Perhaps your school also offers a similar disability plan, and they can help you whether you're in high school or whether you're in university. And in many workplaces, there's also accommodations made. So I think people, a lot of the times, they're more welcoming and kind than we give them credit for. And there are all kinds of centers set up like this to help people. Mostly nowadays when this is becoming, unfortunately, I guess, more common with more and more people having kind of disabilities or chronic illnesses. Number 3, know your surroundings. What are there quiet places that you can go to and be alone if you're not feeling well? So really exploring whatever setting or environment you're in, whether it's the school or the workplace. One of my last jobs had these little private workstations where people could go and make private phone calls. So I would go in there and just shut the door and breathe, and it was kind of dark and quiet and nice. Preferably it's a place where you can lay down and put your feet up. That would be best. Now a lot of places maybe you might not be able to find something like this, but if not, just a little quiet area is nice, like the little phone booth that I used to go in. Bathrooms can also be a really good last resort in universities and mostly in busier workplaces where there's just a lot of foot traffic. Bathrooms can also be a great place to just kind of close. You sit in the stall and just kind of collect yourself and collect your thoughts, mostly when you're not feeling well. So find a place that you can go to when you're not feeling great. With that too, figuring out an exit plan. So not just exactly where you can go, but how to get best there and figuring out a plan. So when I was in school, part of the accommodations plan, the accommodations that I mentioned a few minutes ago, was that I requested to sit close to the exit, as close to the exit as possible, so that when I wasn't feeling well, I could quickly get up and go without having to walk in front of the entire classroom as I wasn't feeling well. And at work, I had a really similar, it was kind of unofficial, but it was a very similar arrangement. So I kind of ended up sitting in a more secluded area, which was really great for my nervous system. And it was also really great, again, for if I wasn't feeling well, I could just easily kind of like, walk away without everybody looking at me. And I didn't want that when I wasn't feeling well. And with surroundings, could your surroundings be online? Is there a way to ask for remote or online options? Now, when I was in university, this was obviously before COVID, so there were still a few online courses I was able to take, and I tried to take as many as I could. So that helped a lot eliminate the fatigue of trying to get ready for class, of actually like commuting and doing everything else. So being at home really helped. And same thing with my job. It was really difficult in the beginning to get remote work for quite a few of the places that I worked at. But over time, it got slightly more easier. And now with COVID, that is a lot easier for a wider variety of workplaces. Number 4, this has to do with setting boundaries. Similar to how you put on your own oxygen mask before you help others, the same thing goes here. You're not any good to anyone else if you're not taking care of yourself. So what does this mean? It means setting appropriate boundaries and mostly saying no. I think this is one of the biggest lessons that chronic illness does teach us. Many people do have problems just, I think, naturally with setting boundaries, and chronic illness, I guess you could say, almost helps with that because it really does force you to have a lot more of these honest conversations. In school, this might look like, let's say, for example, your friends are going out to a party or to a gathering, but then you have to get up early the next day, or you have to do something the next day and you know that the spoons just will not match up. You know that this will take too much energy and that there won't be enough energy left for tomorrow. Now, of course, there might be times where you might decide to go out and you might do something fun because you know that it's fun and you know that you might not feel great the day after, but it's worth it because you want to do this thing. So then, of course, it's a decision, but you shouldn't feel forced to say, oh, I should, or I have to, or yes, I'm going to go to this activity if you know that you're not going to feel well. Also, at the same time, it's important not to alienate yourself, right? So kind of finding that middle sweet ground between kind of perhaps going out, but not going out all the time. Also paying attention to the kind of people you are spending time with and how supportive they are. And just, filtering out what you really want to do or don't want to do and not feeling obligated to do anything. Many of us have this feeling of saying, yes, I'll do this or I'll come there, and we don't really want to do it. Now at work, this might look like setting boundaries when it comes to working hours. Mostly nowadays with remote work, the hours have gotten in a way longer because people are at home. So I used to work at a place where late nights were just really common. But since a lot of my coworkers were working, these late nights, they would end up spending hours throughout the day kind of socializing, hanging out, which I think is normal when you're working such lengthy hours. But because I knew that I physically couldn't work past 8 p.m. because I did not feel well, my symptoms it just never worked. So what I ended up doing was, since that was a non-negotiable for me, I would then take a lot shorter breaks socializing throughout the day, and I would just kind of sit in my cubicle and try to get my work done and really kind of try to get through it so that I would be able to leave the workplace at 8 p.m. Of course, again, like kind of trying to find a middle ground between the same thing, kind of going out with coworkers and socializing, but at the same time, making it clear to those around me that, look, I really cannot stay such late nights, but I will get my work done. So of course that meant doing some prioritizing throughout the day and, again, saying no to a lot of things and having these kind of tough, difficult conversations. But otherwise, it would have been significantly more difficult for me physically to continue being in that job. And as hard as this sounds, also it's important to not compare ourselves to others, right? We each have our own difficulties. We can't fully know what others are going through as well. So putting your self-care first and trying as best as possible not to compare yourself to others. Number 5, prioritizing self-care. Probably my favorite one. So it's really important to structure in days or moments of self-care. And with this structuring in, also it's really important when you're not feeling well or you do have an illness, that you do need to be a little bit more organized as a result of it, right? So you're also trying to keep track of your doctor appointments and trying to keep track of your assignments. Maybe you can't do an assignment last minute because you don't know if you're going to feel well or not. So this requires a lot of planning. With that planning, making sure to, when you are doing that planning, to also structure in this self-care. So I remember when I was in university, I made my schedule in such a specific way that I had each Wednesday off. Wednesdays I would usually have doctor appointments. or physical therapy or something like that. But that's usually all I would do if I did have an appointment that day. And it was such a great midpoint throughout the week, this Wednesday, to kind of just recuperate from Monday and Tuesday, and then to prepare again for Thursday and Friday. And I just really needed that break, and it helped a lot. So perhaps, obviously, when you're working, this is a little bit more difficult, but perhaps can you structure your week so that the Saturday, or there's a weekday when you're really not doing anything, when there's nothing productive getting done, when you're not cooking or cleaning or going grocery shopping, and you could just feel free to just rest or lay in bed and just read a book or watch a nice TV show or be out in nature or take a bubble bath, something relaxing and something that puts you first. And lastly, with the conversation on self-care, having an honest conversation with yourself. If you don't feel supported at your school, is there a way that people or organizations or the school can better support you? What can be done about that? If not, is there a way perhaps to transfer out so that you can cope better at another school? Maybe there's somewhere else that could help you better. Due to health reasons, I had to take a semester off when I was in high school. And at the time, I felt incredibly guilty and terrible just because I had done that. And I felt as if I was being weak for doing that. And I felt, why couldn't I push myself further? But I needed that time. I needed those few months to focus on myself, to get better, to feel better. And I still ended up graduating on time. And looking back, it really doesn't make a difference at all. It's all the same. So same with the job. Is the job you have the best for your health? If not, what can you do? How can you perhaps use your existing skill set to find something new that's better suited to any physical limitations or brain fog or anything like that you might have? I haven't had a personal experience with these resources, but there are job portals and nonprofits that help those with disabilities and chronic illnesses find jobs. So I'll link them in the description below. And also, with COVID, it has also opened the door for employers to be more flexible. Before, they couldn't really imagine having people work remotely and having all this more flexible time. And now it's starting to be more and more of a shift. And with this new shift, it does come extra flexibility, extra understanding. Times are changing, so it is easier to be able to go to work or be able to go to school and also manage a chronic illness. And not only with the tips that I have shared, but also due to the wonderful organizations that are popping up to help people like this, and society changing as well. So it's looking really promising. I hope you found this video helpful, and I would love to hear your biggest takeaways down in the comments below. Let me know what tweaks have you made to your school or work routine and how has it helped you. And if you want more videos like this, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and if you hit the bell, you'll get a notification each time I post a new video. Take care, and I'll see you next time.